Welcome to Byford on the Green. My name is Richard Byford, and once again we're at the Cathedral City High School in the Digital Academy. Spencer's on camera, and we have a live audience. And this week is something I've wanted to do for a long time, which is interview this lady that runs the sustainability office at the city of Palm Springs. Her name is Michele Mician, and she's the sustainability manager. And so, with further ado, let's get to it. Michele, welcome. Thank you for being here. Tell me what it takes to be sustainability manager. I think you came from Florida. Tell us about your education and how you ended up as sustainability manager.
Sure. Well, it started with a jaunt into field school, actually. I got my undergrad degree in English, actually in writing and poetry, and then my father was very interested in science, took us on lots of long walks, and really introduced us to the natural environment. So I decided to go to field school in Costa Rica, and I studied the rainforest, I studied frogs and plants, and just as I had finished field school...
You studied frogs?
Frogs, yes. Dendrobates pomelio, actually a little poison dart frog, a little poisonous rainforest frog that I studied. And as soon as I got done, they started a new graduate program at the University of South Florida. It was a sustainability manager program, and it was a brand new graduate program. I didn't find very many in other parts of the country, so I thought I'd go ahead and start the program. So I got a master's in science in environmental management and policy, and that led eventually to this job here after a few years.
I know that we were talking before we came on camera, and you actually still teach at the university.
Yes.
And one of the things I know that you teach is ecofeminism.
Yes.
Anybody know what ecofeminism is? No, and I didn't know what it was either, so can you explain it to us?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I teach a number of classes in the Women's Studies department, but one of them is ecofeminism, which looks at the parallels between how we treat nature and how women are treated in society, and also looking at ancient ideas about women and nature, like looking at Mother Nature, for instance, or looking at Greek philosophers and the idea of goddess worship and Gaia hypothesis, looking at women taking active roles in environmental protection. So lots of different ideas that I present in that course, and always a lot of fun working with students.
This isn't actually why we were doing this interview, but tell me about the bees, because I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, well, part of what I do in my job at the City of Palm Springs is to do a lot of educational programming. And one of the things we do is do a film series. It's a sustainability film series that's offered free through the library. And last night we showed The Vanishing of the Bees, which was really a great film to focus on what's happening to our environment, specifically pollinators. And bees are so important. Without bees, we have no food. And farmers were noticing bees disappearing. So this film introduced the idea and helped people understand that bees are dying because of a number of reasons. One is because of factory farming, monoculture, and the way that the bees are treated and they're farmed out back and forth. They can't handle that intense movement in agriculture really being worked that hard, and also pesticide use. So it's just another great aspect of my job, being able to educate people on things like that.
Since you come from Florida, do you think there's a big difference in what am I trying to say here? The attitudes towards sustainability on the East Coast, being Florida, and the West Coast, now you're here?
I think every community is a little different. Where I came from, it was a progressive community. It was a small town about the size of Palm Springs. We, on the East Coast, often looked at California as like the environmental place. Everyone in California is doing environmental work. It's so progressive. But I think it also depends on a number of things. It depends on your demographics. If you have a community that's really there 12 months out of the year, or you have active people, which we do very much so in the Palm Springs, Coachella Valley area, and also funding. Funding affects everything, as you know. Without that, it's hard to get programs going.
Which leads me into the next question. And I have asked literally all our guests the same question. We talked about it in the car on the way over here. Why does sustainability, or quote unquote going green, have to be political?
Well, I had a tough time answering that question because of my background. It isn't political for me. It's very inherent in my way of living and who I am. But now so much has become put on the forefront with environmental issues and sustainability in every community and most like most every level of government, they look at sustainability and business. Because there's money to be made or there's money to be lost, depending on how you look at it. And doing sustainable practices, it can save you a tremendous amount of money in the long run, but it's also a heavy investment in funding in some areas of sustainability. So I think it's political, partially because it's the right thing to do and people are really starting to know that, but also because, a politician who does focus on sustainability these days does have a lot of constituents looking at them in a better light. So I think that's probably, I hope that answers your question.
Well, so now you're sustainability manager in a city called Palm Springs. What are the challenges? What do you wake up every morning and say, oh God, I got to do this today? What are the challenges in Palm Springs?
That's funny that you said that because I did wake up this morning the same way.
Oh God, I got to meet Richard
This morning I thought the same thing. I was like, oh no, what projects do I have to get done? But I think it's just taking things one step at a time and being inventive and taking an easy, positive approach. Like right now we're working on getting a community garden in place. And that's a challenge just because finding a location and the funding. But finally we've done that. It took about a year of really continuously working on that. Also, a challenge would be just really getting the commercial sector on board and then finding resources for the residents because things are so tight for families right now and for our residents. I think that's a big challenge I wake up with every day is trying to find a way to help the larger scope of people, the residents and the people we serve, and getting them more resources.
You walked into a very difficult situation. So what are the good things in Palm Springs or in Southern California or Coachella Valley? And what are the negatives? What are the bad things or difficult things that you have to face?
Well, I think in the Coachella Valley, we just have so many beautiful resources. I think one of the great things that we still need to tap into more is our ecotourism. The trails and hiking here are phenomenal and really focusing on getting people to appreciate those more and utilize them more, especially in the schools, using that as an educational tool to bring kids out into the outdoors and into the environment. So a great thing. Having the backing, the political backing here is also really phenomenal in the Coachella Valley throughout. We have the Coachella Valley Association of Governments that backs us. Almost all the cities are on board with sustainability issues, so it helps us work together. Some of the challenges, I think, are really looking forward, looking ahead at our food production, our food supply. How are we going to plan for the future to ensure that we can get food here to the valley really easily? What it happens if there is climate change? What about water shortages? Really looking further ahead. Also, really working on the landscaping issue too, on our water conservation. That's been a bit of a challenge and something I really hope to tackle this coming year.
So where do you think we will be, not just in Palm Springs necessarily, but where do you think we'll be? Because all the cities, nearly all the cities in America have some challenge or some problem, usually financial. Where do you think we'll be in, say, 5 years with this sustainability and going green? Where do you think we'll have advanced that much?
Gosh, that's a tough question because when I hear that, I want to say where I hope we'll be. My hope of where we'll be is seeing more people growing their own food, more people doing local beekeeping, or people really taking care to live locally and sustainably. Where do I think we'll be? I think it's up to, like the kids here, the younger generation, to really start being critical about how they live their lives, how they spend their dollars. If they purchase things that come in a lot of packaging, that's the biggest contributor to our landfills, which contributes to methane gas, which contributes to global warming or global climate change. So I think the generations coming up really need to think with their dollars. That is a big impact on how we live our lives. And also think locally. How can they sustain themselves and their future family? So I think where we'll be is somewhere in between there. We'll have some challenges, people really struggling, and then we'll have some innovators and young people are really coming up with great solutions. That's optimistic maybe, but
it's pretty obvious that Michele is very passionate about what she does. It's not just a job, it's a vocation. Last question I guess I have for you, Michele. is what would you like the people in this class and the people watching this video, what would you like them to take away with them from having watched you?
I guess what I really would like for people to take away is that they make a difference. Every decision you make, you can make a decision to do something better for the environment, that they really do have an impact on what's going on with the earth, and that they're part of the earth, that they're human nature. I mean, you are really in touch with the earth, and to be open to that idea, to be open to, really understanding that you are part of this living planet, this beautiful place that has so much to offer, and that we have a responsibility to take care of those beautiful resources, and to be able to enjoy that for us and for those in the future. So I think that would be the most important thing, to just really honor that connection you have to nature and that connection you have to the earth.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think this has been a very interesting and very exciting interview. Michele, thank you so much for spending time with us. The Sustainability Manager of Palm Springs, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, this is her passion. I've wanted to discuss this with you for a long time, so thank you for being here. My name is Richard Byford, and you have been watching Byford on the Green. Thank you. We'll catch you next time.